I'm Hazel, and this is a guide to the Skolex fight in the Sepulcher of the First Ones on Normal and Heroic difficulty. This is a simple fight that's all about debuff management. A few things in this fight apply Ephemera Dust, which is a stacking dot with no duration. When you want to reset your Ephemera Dust, you need the whole raid to bait Skolex into burrowing by stacking up into one clump. The worm will pop out of the sand, everyone gets knocked back and takes some damage, stacks are reset, and a ground puddle appears. The raid needs to stay in that burst to reset their stacks and avoid a dust wave, so don't scoot too soon. Skolex does get a stacking 5% damage every time he burrows though, so be sparing with how often you bait him. Wormhole Jaws cause his attacks to pass on to the next nearest player, which really should be the other tank. Both tanks can stack up, and everyone else can be a little ways away so they don't get smoked. Rift Maw does some damage and puts a short but deadly debuff on the tank, swap after each one. And Rend is a big tank hit that also applies a bleed. Use some mitigation for that initial hit. 3 whole tank mechanics. Exciting! Devouring Blood is a dispellable debuff that'll go onto random players. That does damage and reduces haste by 20%. Healers can dispel that ASAP. Dust Flail does a little damage and puts some Ephemera Dust on everyone. It's unavoidable, so don't stress about it. Dust Blast will apply extra Ephemera Dust to players furthest from the boss. Ranged should be closer if they have high stacks, and farther out if they can afford to take more. Don't be too far though, because Retch is a big ol' cone attack that you need to move out of. You can't miss it, I promise. On Normal, that's it. On Heroic, there's a few ability upgrades. Heroic Dust Blast becomes a 10-yard AoE, so those far players that are taking the extra stacks should be spread. Heroic Rend becomes a 20-yard frontal cone, which will need careful positioning from the tanks to make sure that they don't both take it. And Heroic Rift Maw becomes a 50-yard frontal cone, once again requiring careful tank positioning. Because of the Wormhole Jaws, it'll be more important on Heroic to have the melee grouped up on one side of the boss so that the tanks have space to work. You want the off tank to be the closest player to the active tank, but not so close that they're in those cones. And that's the fight. Good luck against Skolex, I've got more raid guides if you want them, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.